Aloha Algebra 2. Today we are starting section 5.4, which is one of my all-time favorites, which is dividing polynomials, right? We've added some of these, we've subtracted some of these, we've multiplied these bad boys, but now we're going to get into what we call dividing polynomials, which really goes into everything we do in terms of finishing up chapter 5, okay? Our objectives for this particular lesson, and it looks like I got cut off right there. I got cut out, but I think I got it back good to go now. Our objectives right here are to divide polynomials using two different methods. One long division, the other one synthetic division. Now, synthetic is a quick way to do these, and so yeah, we got the quick way. However, the only bad thing about synthetic division is you cannot use synthetic division all of the time. You can use long division all of the time. And that's the difference between the two. So it's going to be very important to know when you can take that super shortcut and use synthetic division, or if you got to do long division. But since long division is more important because we can use that all of the time in every possible scenario, we are first going to introduce you guys to what we call long division. Okay? And so here we go. This is long division. We put a little roof. Okay? Whatever we are dividing by goes out here. All right, and whatever comes first in that equation comes underneath the roof, okay? And it's very important to make sure that you know that particular order. Okay, and to get a little bit of terminology, this guy right here is called your dividend, okay? This is your divisor, okay? And your answer happens to be our quotient. Okay, so how do we do this? Now I kind of have some steps to make this easier for us, and then we kind of just go in cycles, okay? But what you're going to do for long division is we're going to come over here and we're going to show some side work. And we're going to start our cycle. Here's cycle 1, okay? And we're going to divide the very first thing underneath the roof. What's the first thing underneath the roof, or the first term underneath the roof? It's 4x squared. And we're going to divide that by the first thing on the outside, or the first thing of the divisor. And the first thing there is x. And if we can, as long as this degree is bigger than or equal to this degree, then that means we just keep on kind of with the process. Okay, and 4x squared divided by x would be 4x. Now, when I divide the first guy with the first guy, that is one of my answers. Okay, and I'm going to line that answer up on top of that roof where I would put the quotient. Okay, and I'm going to put that, and I'm going to line it up. Since that has x to the first, it lines up with 23x to the first. So it's kind of important just for organizational purposes. Okay, now going back to 5th, 6th grade math, how we would always do these longhand is after we did that division, we would take our quotient and we would multiply it by our divisor. So 4x times x is 4x squared. Sweet! If the first guy matches up, that means you're doing it right. And then you do 4x times 5, which is plus 20x. Now going back to 6th grade, when we did that, after we multiplied that quotient by that divisor, then we subtracted, right? And then it gave us our remainder. Now, I like to use our subtraction as called changing the signs. And I always like to use different colors or circle that I actually change the signs, then we subtract. If those first guys go bye-bye, then that means you're right on perfect form and you're doing it the right way. 23x minus 20x is 3x. And if there's anything that I didn't subtract, anything left in that dividend, you just bring it down. Doesn't matter where it is, you bring it down. And then you just ask yourself, can the cycle keep on going? And I hope it does, because more work is fun work. And yet you can keep on going as long as what's in your dividend degree is greater than or equal to that guy's first degree. So I can keep on going because it's a 3x to the first over x. So once again, it's a cycle. Just dividing the first guy underneath with the first guy on the outside, and I get 3. That's an answer. Where does that go? That goes up here in the quotient. And then I take that answer, which was 3, and I multiply it by the divisor, and 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 5 is 15. And then remember, it's important to get our remainder, so we're going to subtract or change signs. Oh, sweet. The first guy matches up, so it means I'm doing it right. Negative 16 minus, that's a negative 31. Now there's no x, right? It's x to the 0. It's gone. There's no x's, and there's an x. So now the degree is smaller. So that means I'm done and I just have to make sure I write my answer correctly. So my quotient would be 4x plus 3 and my remainder. Okay, and I always like to write the remainder like this. So it's like plus, you got some remainder. It's negative 31 over your divisor, right? You can't go anymore. So that is how we're going to write our answers, okay? Another way we could write that answer is because a positive and a negative makes a negative would be 4x plus 3 minus 31 over x plus 5. That means that negative is going to the 31. A little bit cleaner like that, okay? But that is long division. We're going to do a couple more because long division sometimes hangs up students. Now, I challenge you guys at home, right? We only have 5 pages here. If you're feeling pretty darn good, then what I really want you guys to do at home is to see if you can get this next one on your own with no help, okay? So, right, your goal at home is to hit pause and see how you do, okay? But let's go ahead and do another one. So let's set it up. Okay, right? We have that guy right there. Remember, it's called my dividend. That guy goes on the outside. My divisor, what I'm dividing by, goes out here in front. And then I'm going to find the quotient and the remainder. How do I do that? I start my cycles. Right inside works awesome because Mr. T is going to give you guys credit because it's so easy to make little mistakes in these problems. So you want to make sure you do a great job of showing all of your work. Now, hopefully you hit pause, tried it on your own, and you divided the first guy underneath, which is your dividend, with your first guy on the outside, which is your divisor. And if I do that, I get as an answer 3x, right? Sorry, class, let's keep this going. Had a phone call. All right, so here we go. So first guy underneath with the first guy on the outside, there's my answer. I stack that guy with the one it matches up with. And remember, if that's my quotient, I want to find the remainder, so I'm going to multiply. If that first guy matches up, it means you're doing just awesome job. And then we do that, which is minus 21x. And then remember, I got to find the remainder, which means I'm going to subtract, which means change the signs. That negative is going to be a positive. Remember, if the first guys cancel off, you're doing awesome. And I get a negative 8x. And then you bring down anybody that's left over. And then you just ask yourself, can I keep on going? And hopefully you can because it's so fun. And I can. Why? Because that's an 8x. And that's an x on the outside. So as long as the degree is the same or bigger than, you get to keep on going. Divide the first guy underneath, which would be the first guy in your dividend, which is new now, with the first guy on the outside, which is your divisor, and you get an answer of negative 8. All right, and then you take that answer and you put that's an answer. So I put it up there. Negative 8 times x is negative 8x. Negative 8 times negative 7 is a positive 56. And then what do? We change signs or we subtract, so we find our remainders. Oh, what the what? Spling, spling, everything's gone. If everything's gone, you're just left with your quotient. You don't even write a remainder. Sweet, and I don't even have to keep on going, right? I'm done, or maybe not so sweet, because when they're super long, they're super fun. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and see what's next. This is long division. If you didn't have a chance or you weren't brave enough to try this one on your own, hopefully you'll try this next one on your own. If you notice there's something a little bit different going on here, right? That's an x squared. Woo! All right, is that going to make it tougher? And it's asking if it's a factor. So all we're going to do is we're going to take this a step further, okay? And what we are going to do is I'm going to do long division here. And they're asking if this guy right here, which is actually like your divisor, they're asking if that's a factor of your dividend. And the way you check it, guess what? Take great notes right now. It's a factor if your remainder, take a guess, is 0. All right, so we are going to check this out. And if I get a remainder of 0, that means it's a factor. And we're going to find out later on when we go on to tougher stuff this chapter that if it is a factor, that is going to be so important. Now, as I'm writing these down, I have x to the 4th, x to the 3rd. I have an x squared. Oh, snap. It is skipping somebody. Now, the rule is it's always super duper helpful that if you skip somebody in the dividend, that you should put a 0 in for it. 0x. Okay? So that can be very, very helpful. So you want to do that, okay? And then now, if you notice I skipped something here, but it's not vital or it's not important out there, okay? Because that's just my divisor. And then remember, we start with some side work. Whoa, that's a long problem. Sweet. Probably means a lot of steps. How do we get this guy started using long division? Step 1, 3x to the 4th over x squared. If I do that division, 3x squared is my first answer. Where would I stack that up with? With the other x squared. Okay, so sweet. I'm in my quotient. I'm ready to go. What do we do after that? Well, we multiply. 3x squared times that would be 3x to the 4th. Spling. Matched up means I'm doing it right. 3x squared times a positive 1. Look at that. I skipped over somebody. What the what? Blink, right? There's nothing else to multiply. What do we do after that very important multiplying? Well, we find the remainder by taking the difference, right? Circle those guys. The first one's gone, so I did awesome. Oh, snap, I skipped over that bad boy. Well, guess what? That guy just drops down when I skip over it. So this is a tough one because there's new stuff that's coming up. And then you do 12x squared minus 3x squared. That's a positive 9x squared. I'm still skipping over this guy, so I'm going to put it since it's in my dividend, and then I'm plus 5. Okay? Okay. Do I keep on going? For sure I do, because it's an x to the cubed and an x squared out there, so I keep on going, and it's negative 4x to the 3rd over x squared, which is negative 4x. That's my next answer. Ooh, it was helpful. I put that 0 right there. Keeps me aligned. All right, and then you do negative 4x squared times a x squared. That's 3 of them, and they line up beautifully. Sweet. And then negative 4x times a positive 1 is a negative 4x. It's going to, oh, I'm skipping over a dude again. Come on. Spling. All right, now what do we do after that? We do the most important, find the remainder by finding the difference, change those signs. First guys are gonzos, so that's awesome. Ooh, I skipped this guy, so what happens to that? Comes down. Ooh, see, once again, good I had that 0 there. 0 plus 4x is a plus 4x, and then a plus 5. Everyone with me? Sweet! 3 steps. I got to keep on going because that's an x squared and an x squared out here. I'm going step 3 over here because I'm running out of space. 9x squared over x squared, which is 9. There's an answer. Plus 9. I'm going to multiply 9x squared plus 9. Hopefully you're getting the hang of this now. Seems like you guys are. Now I'm going to subtract, which is a step that a lot of students forget. Okay, but that's what we do to find the remainder. And then I get that guy comes down. I get a 4x minus 4. And then now that's an x to the 1st. And I'm in my divisor, I have an x squared. So it's smaller, so that means I'm done. So I just have to write my answer. So I'm going to use this cool purple color. And my final answer would be, ooh, do I have enough room? It'd be 3x squared minus 4x plus 9ers plus 4x minus 4 all over x squared plus 1. Boom. If you got that one, you are just monies. That is long division. We did 3 of them. Now for the shorty cuts. All right? And we all love shorty cuts. But the thing with this shortcut in this chapter is that you cannot always use the shortcut. You can only use the shortcut in very special situations. So you want to make sure you take really good notes, okay? And I'm going to show you. We're actually going to do the problems we did already, and you're going to see we're going to get the same answers, which is pretty cool. Now, I can use the shortcut here. Now, why can I use the shortcut? And the shortcut is called synthetic division. Okay? It's called synthetic division. And you can use this shortcut as long as your divisor or whatever you're dividing by is linear. Now, what does it mean if it is linear? Well, it means it has to be x plus 5, x minus 3, x plus 7, x minus 1,000,005, x plus 8. Okay? It's got to be x. It's got to be x to the 1st. Okay? And so this time here, I could use synthetic division. Okay. So if I'm using synthetic division, the one thing I want to check out right here is what would make this guy 0? What could I plug in for x that would make that 0? So since it's x plus 5, the opposite is going to make it 0. So that means a negative 5 is going to make that a 0. And I'm going to put that in a little box right here. It's a shortcut. It's a little unorthodox. Okay, and then I'm going to put just the coefficients of the dividend right here. 4, 23, negative 16. Boom. It's going to blow your mind. Okay, because I'm going to get the same answer I did when I did long division, but this was so much quicker. But remember, it only works when you're dividing by something linear, x to the first. Okay, so this is it. You drop the first number, 4. You multiply. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. You combine. 23 minus 20 is 3. You multiply. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. You combine. They're both negative, which means you sum it up, right? It's going to be a 31, but it's going to be negative. That's my answer. What you talking about, Mr. Tanaka? Well, the last number, remember, is always our remainder. Okay, and that's always how we write our remainder, remember. And then you kind of go this way. Okay, so that's my remainder. The next guy never has an x on it. Remember, always put a plus sign to separate those. And then the next guy will be a x on it. And believe it or not, that was the answer for the first problem we did. If not, flippy flippies, check the answer. It's the same thing. Now, since I got a remainder, that means this is not a factor. So x plus 5, put that in your notes, is not a factor. Okay? And synthetic division is going to be very, very helpful because once you get used to it, you're going to get really, really good at it, and it's going to save a lot of time. But you have to know when you're allowed to use it. I'll say it again. We can only use the shortcut synthetic division when you are dividing by something that is linear, which means x to the first. So the question to all you guys at home, we're dividing here by x minus 7. Is that linear? And hopefully you're like, for sure, Mr. T, that's an x to the first. Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and do synthetic division. I challenge everybody at home right now. Come on, step out of that box. Try it right now on your own by hitting pause, and let's see if we all get it. All right, remember the most important, hopefully you unpause. The most important step is what makes that 0. Well, it's x minus 7, so what make it 0 is the opposite of positive 7. So positive 7 comes out here in the little box, okay? And then remember, the coefficients go here. So we have a 3, a negative 29, and a 56. Okay? And then remember, what do? We get started. How do you get started? You just drop the first dude. Okay, and then remember, we multiply. 3 times 7, 21. Then we combine. Negative 8. Negative 8 and 7 gives me a negative 56. Oh, snap, 0. If that's a 0, what does that mean? It means a number of things. One, that's our remainder. So if that's my remainder and I go this way, that's the remainder. The next guy has no x on it. And the next guy is going to have an x. Remember, flippy, flippy. It's the same answer we got when we got long division, but we got that so much quicker. And then what else could we conclude? We would say x minus 7 is a factor. And it's a factor of 3x squared minus 29 plus 56. But it is a factor. Not too bad, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. We just have 2 problems to go, class. And then we're going to call it a day. Make sure you are practicing these things. And if we do a lesson where you guys are just, Mr. T, what'd you do? Then come see me in the AM. All right, there's my divisor. We're going to divide by x squared plus 1. Whew, Mr. T, that's not linear. It's not linear because it's an x squared, so you cannot do synthetic division. So the only thing you can do here is long division. Okay, make sure you know why you have to do long division. We already did it. We're not going to do it again, but make sure you understand why that one is a long division. And then I've got a whole bunch of practice problems right now. I know there's one, hopefully, that I want to do. They've got no tough ones here, so I'm going to make one up. All right, let's do it. Let's go 3x to the third minus 4x plus 7. And we're going to divide that by x plus 1. Okay, and I wanted to bring up one that we could use synthetic division because if you notice, there's something going on with the dividend. Okay, we're missing an x squared. But we put a -1 out here. Remember that? Okay, we put a 3. Oh, snap, I skipped somebody. This is huge. If you skip somebody, you've got to put a 0. That is so important. If you don't do that and throws up the whole answer, you get it wrong. Okay, so be careful with that. All right, let's go. 3. 3 times -1, -3. Combine. Look how fast this is. Oh, snap, am I good? Dunzo! This is my remainder. So how do we write remainders? That means it is not a factor. The next, and then we go this way, remember, that'd be -1. I got to put a sign between these two, so it's always a plus. So if it was a -8, you just have a negative up there. The next guy has an x in it, and the first guy has an x squared in it. It just keeps on going up like that. That's my answer. That long division would have took a while. Synthetic, Dunto. Alohas. Remember to come in the AM if you need some extra help. It is always helpful. Aloha.